Welcome to the Nerd Lair. On today's episode, we're going to be looking at 5 Lord of the Rings games that I definitely think you should play, if you're a fan of Middle-earth, that is. And most of them seem to be adaptations of the Peter Jackson movies, which isn't a bad thing. I love those movies. They are amazing. Alright, pack up that pipe weed and let's get to the first game. Nerd Lair. Released in 2002 for all platforms, Fellowship the game, despite launching a year after Peter Jackson's movie, instead the game follows more closely to the novel. And yes, if you're wondering, good old Tom Bombadil and Lady Goldberry make an appearance, which is always funny because, if you didn't know, Tom speaks in song.
You should not be waking, eat earth, drink water, go to sleep, Bombadil is talking.
The atmosphere of this game is absolutely amazing. Its dark high fantasy gives off that feeling of reading the books in front of a crackling fire. And in a lot of ways, at least to me, mirrors a Zelda game like Ocarina of Time. Granted, it's not nearly as good, but I see a bunch of inspiration that was taken from that game into this game. It's also cool that throughout the game, you're actually playing as different characters, not just Frodo. The voice acting in this game is also done really well, which is great because the era of video games in which this comes from, the voice acting in games was hit and miss to say the least.
But where should we go?
Towards danger, but not too rashly, nor too straight. And you mustn't vanish. Take time to settle your affairs before you leave.
I could leave in autumn on my birthday.
Very well, but no later. Make for Rivendell in the east, and seek the counsel of Elrond Half-Elven.
Fellowship of the Ring does have its problems, but overall I really enjoyed it, and I think anyone who loves Middle-earth will agree. It stands alone among a ton of other games that are based off of the Peter Jackson movies, so this one is definitely a go if you're wanting something more closely related to the books. Released in 2005 for the PSP, this game follows the story of the events of the Peter Jackson movies more so than the books. You play as a handful of different heroes in a tactical fashion that focuses around moving your character on a battlefield once per turn and deciding which actions you want to take, whether it be attacking, defending, casting spells, or using items. You'll see a bunch of different iconic fights from the movies, such as the fight at Weathertop against the Ringwraiths, and many more. This was such a great game on the PSP. There were so many good tactics games that came out for this handheld, and this one is no exception. I understand that not everyone, even if you like Middle-earth, will get into a tactics game because they can be kind of slow, but if you are a fan of this genre, you will definitely be satisfied. It's one game you have to have in your PSP collection, especially if you're a fan of Middle-earth. Battle for Middle-earth was released in 2004 only for PC. This is a real-time strategy game following the events of the movies. Whereas most Lord of the Rings games you play as the heroes, this one allows you to also play as the villains, with having the choice of a good or evil campaign. I really enjoyed this one because it gives you more perspectives of the events that happen with Saruman's army. This plays like a normal RTS game where you build structures, create your soldiers, and fight to save or take over Middle-earth. I played this one a ton in high school, especially since there was online multiplayer with random players or you could play with your friends. There was a time in gaming history where every franchise seemed to get an RTS spin-off game, and this one was definitely one of my favorites. Not just as an RTS game, but a Lord of the Rings game in general. Also, the sequel is a great game as well. Released for the PC in 2007, Lord of the Rings Online is one of my favorite MMORPGs of all time, and it's still running strong today in 2022, with tons of expansions, updates, and content being released frequently. It's one of the last good tab-targeting MMORPGs such as World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV. Lord of the Rings Online allows you to play as your favorite races of Middle-earth and become your favorite class depending on your playstyle. There's player housing, dungeons, raids, mounts, and endless amounts of content to keep any MMO fan busy. It's no wonder this game is still alive and well. And it's also free to play. You are able to pay to unlock new content and classes and races, but I would say a good 75% of the game is free to play completely. So if you don't want to spend money, you don't have to. And the best part is, it's not pay to win if you do decide to spend money. And in my time, I've seen many a MMO come and go because they go free to play and then pay to win and then it dies. And if you're not not aware what that means, pay to win means that you're paying money to get better stats, armor, gear than someone who doesn't pay. And that kind of business model always is the end of an MMO, because no one wants to play against someone who's only going to be better than them because they paid money. And with a huge new game update right around the corner, you can bet your ass this game's going to be around for the foreseeable future. I always say most people who played Lord of the Rings Online exclusively don't play it because they like MMOs, they play it because they love Middle-earth. Released in 2004 across all platforms, Lord of the Rings The Third Age is definitely my favorite game out of all of the ones that I've shown you today, mainly because it's a turn-based role-playing game. What a perfect concept for this franchise. It was about time we got a Lord of the Rings RPG. In this game, you play as Barethor, a former tower guard of Gondor who is searching for Boromir. And as we all know, Boromir is with the Fellowship on their way to destroy the One Ring. The Third Age takes place right alongside the events of the three movies, and it's so interesting because we get to see a different point of view of the events that happen in the movies.
What is this?
Fool of a took. Throw yourself in next time, regardless of your stupidity.
Wait, I see something. What do you say to this, dwarf?
That would be a key to a very important item. Something kept at the throne room. Perhaps a book of secrets.
Can you lead us there? Time is running out!
I think we have found more than we bargained for.
It is a Balrog of Morgoth!
We must master our fear. Follow that creature. It is our only way out.
If you're familiar with other RPGs such as Final Fantasy, then you'll feel right at home here, and I would say that this game closely resembles Final Fantasy X the most, in my opinion. You have the main third-person perspective mode where you're running around the world of Middle-earth to new areas, gathering new weapons, armors, and items to help you along your quest, along with random battle encounters. These will throw you into a turn-based combat system where you can gain XP through winning fights, learning new skills, and leveling up your stats. The game doesn't get too crazy or innovative when it comes to the battle system. It's a standard turn-based role-playing game, and that's why I love it so much. The gameplay is rich and rewarding, and you'll get a lot of gameplay hours out of it, as well as a fresh new perspective of the movies that we love so much. I highly recommend this one, not just if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, but any RPG lover out there. And who knows, if you weren't that big of a Lord of the Rings fan before playing this, maybe you will be afterwards. And that is 5 Lord of the Rings games that you should definitely check out if you're into Middle-earth. If one of your favorite Lord of the Rings games wasn't in this video, be sure to let me know what it was down below in the comments section. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe down below, and hit that notification bell. Let you know when I go live and when I upload new content. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time in Middle-earth.